Fire them up. That's what we do on Fridays. We fire them up right here on 1039 WYAB on the Andrew Gosser Show, where we are streaming on Rumble, where we are streaming on X, where we are streaming on YouTube. Facebook still hates me, and we're streaming at the mothership that is WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up the 50,000 watt blowtorch of a signal, please help us grow the station, help us grow the channels. Right now, like, share, and subscribe. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend, tell a Democrat. Let's get them all over here. Everybody's welcome in the WYB and Andrew Gosser pool. Look, if you want to be part of the program today, 601-879-0002. Text line is open at 601-879-5060. I do read them all. Don't get back to them all. Sorry. Just so much bandwidth in the day to get to it. Look, the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat of its fruits. It didn't say whether you were going to be preaching good stuff or bad stuff. It's just you're going to eat what you say. And that's why on this show, we have a biblical worldview. We're not afraid of it. And we're going to state it. Now, the great thing about great American patriots, you know you've made a mark when after you're gone, whether you've died of natural causes, illness, or you're a martyr. Your speech, your words, they live on. And they live on as long as we're doomed not to forget it and go ahead and repeat it. So let's go ahead and listen to this martyred patriot right here.
The spiritual battle is coming to the West, and the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go after what we call the American way of life. And the American way of life is very simple. I want to be able to get married, buy a home, have kids, allow them to ride their bike till the sun goes down, send them to a good school, have a low crime neighborhood, not to have my kid be taught the lesbian, gay, transgender garbage in their school, while also not having them have to hear the Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day. That's important. We want the American way of life, which is, by the way, Christendom. Christians, our sacrifice, our toil, our vision, the outgrowth of the scriptures gave us Western civilization. The spiritual.
And that was 3 days before Brother Charlie was taken from us. And sometimes as I'm doing show prep, things pop up, things I liked in the past, things that I didn't like pop up. And I thought this was a good way to start the show because we have to talk about what's happening in Michigan because it will happen here. You would think the last place this would happen is in Texas, but Texas is in the fight of its life right now. And you won't hear it reported on CBS or ABC News. You won't hear it reported on any of the mainstream cable networks. Their local radio stations, their local papers are talking about it. But we're absolutely getting freight trained. We're getting freight trained by this radical Muslim influence that's teaming up with the Democrats. It's getting teamed up with the Democrats. I've reposted that Charlie Kirk video, and I hope you all have a chance to go back and reflect on that, listen to it with your kids, tell them why you agree with it, things that you don't agree with it. It's time that we get more involved with our parents or with our kids. Well, with parents too. I've got so much on this Islamic stuff, and I wasn't going to plan to do it, but it's just how it all ended up falling into the stack of stuff. So with that, I got this from Lake Boss, who's a big-time Democrat on X. I've got a big tent on X and in life, but I draw the line at communist, socialist, unconstitutional Sharia law, and cultures and religions that don't protect women and children. Those are absolute dead deal breakers, non-negotiable. For whatever reason, a lot of Americans don't feel the same way. I've got zero interest in associating with you. I am done and not voting for you. It's got a picture of the Democrat donkey. So I tweeted him, and I just said, serious question. Does that mean you would actively vote against the Democrat, the socialist, the communist, the Marxist, the Islamist? I'm hoping to hear back from him. But let's see what we're already getting calls. Let's go ahead and take it. Hey, go ahead. You're on the air.
Good morning. Hey, let me cut the radio off.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Listen, I was listening. I don't know exactly what state it was because I drive a lot and everything.
Yep.
But I think it was Minnesota, somewhere up in Minnesota, somewhere up in there. The guy got nominated for the Democrat, and he threatened the Republican and the people with violence or hurt me. Just get out of y'all's way and shut up, or he's gonna do something to him or something.
Drag him into the mud. That? Yep, we played that. We played that on the show actually, and
maybe that's where I heard it because I remember it.
Well, the thing is that the mainstream media won't tell you that. You know, WLBT won't post stuff like that.
No.
And we're in a war for our country right now. It is a cold war, but it's a cold civil war, and we're being invaded by people who don't want to assimilate to the American way of life.
They want to overthrow us.
They want to overthrow us and bring Somalia and Islamabad here.
What I believe, I may be right, it's not a communist or free market. It's God against the devil. We at a point now where the devil is showing, is shining, and we got to, some way God's got to help us defeat it.
Yeah,
I may be right. I may be wrong.
No, I think you're right about having the God versus the devil argument. I think that's ultimately what it comes to. Unfortunately, I think our nation has lost its way with our faith and our spirituality and with our connection with Christ. And we're trying to do it without God, and it's not turning out too good for us, is it?
Look at Israel. How many times they done it without God, and look what happened.
You know what? Israel's got its butt whooped so many times by God. The Assyrians, the Babylonians, they've been invaded. They've been exiled and put into slavery in Egypt. They were wandering 40 years because they weren't listening to God.
That's right.
I mean,
and I don't know what to do for my granddaughter and your grandkids and people coming along. Is it a fight? They say Americans coming back to Christians. I've heard that before, but I don't know evangelism and everything. But you got to go back to the churches and the preachers. And I don't believe all our preachers are preaching the correct. They're preaching for themselves.
Oh,
some churches.
I'll tell you what, the preachers are. They're the shepherds. That's the actual Greek word for a preacher. A pastor is actually shepherd, and they are responsible for shepherding their flocks. And when you have these pastors who refuse to talk about the dangers of Sharia law, when you have these pastors who refuse to take sides in political battles, easy ones like abortion, like transgenderism, I mean, these are slam dunk Christian values, and pastors are more afraid about the collection plate than salvation. And it's wrong. And I'm calling out all the pastors. And if you're pastor, look, the church is not the four walls that you go to on a Sunday or a Wednesday. It's the community. It's all around. And
it's on the streets you walk up and down, shop in the grocery store.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right, brother. And if we don't do that, then we're in trouble. And that's the ultimate fix. But yeah, man, I will look for that video. I played it earlier this week and try to find it during the break.
And also, you got to go back to the news people and our college professors teaching our kids. We let the news media go woke. Now they're really gone. They don't, and the college professors, and they teaching our kids. So I don't know.
I've had a story in the stack about retired generals going to China, getting wined and dined by the Chi-Coms, having them hook up with Chinese, for lack of a better word, hookers, and they got the pictures to prove it, and no one's talking about it. But I've got that story in the stack of stuff, but you didn't see it on mainstream media. You found it. These Nick journalists, these James O'Keefe's, these Natalie Winters, these ones who are going out there and doing real journalism, like journalism used to do back in the day, before Operation Mockingbird kicked off.
Well, we'll just see what happens. We just got to pray and keep going and do whatever little corner you do, every corner you do, every little speck, every seed you sow may be sowing something. You don't know.
Oh, now you're equipping the saints right there, my brother. You're equipping the saints right there. I really appreciate your phone call, my friend.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You have a blessed one too, man. And he's totally right. And it's funny how people, once they start hearing about this, their eyes open up and they realize that, oh my goodness, we're really walking a tightrope here. And I know it's a dirty word in conservative and Christian circles, the word evangelism, but it's critical. It's critical. I've got this video of El Said in May 10th, 2018, and I just want you to listen to what he says. I'm going to skip right here.
Listen. Function simply on the fact that I choose to pray a particular way. It is implicitude that is used to raise the scepter that has everything to do with context. Now, here's the thing. What frustrates me more is not that you have blatant racism on the part of certain people, but what frustrates me...
Is it racism when we have Arab neighborhoods that remind me of Saudi Arabia, that remind me of Iraq, that remind me of Afghanistan or Somalia? When you come to America, what do you make America more America, or do you make America more Islamic?
More is, in the words of Martin Luther King, is that one of the most dangerous aspects is not when bad people speak out, it's when good people fail to speak out. And what I have not heard is the Republicans on this panel decisively and swiftly call out this kind of Islamophobia.
Well, maybe then we shouldn't have the Muslims running around stabbing people like happened in Charlotte just earlier this week. I got that story in the stack of stuff. Homegrown Muslim went and stabbed a white girl just for being white and attacked another one. They both lived, but who doesn't hear about that? Oh, they'll ram Nolan Wells' story down our throats. Or this poor black woman who was found hanging in a tree in Jackson that's not getting any real coverage. But they'll go ahead and bury stuff like this.
This kind of racism in the context, right, that they are running to represent a state that has the highest per capita number of Muslim Americans in the country. Now, you might not hate racist Muslims, but I'll tell you, Muslims definitely hate you.
I'll tell you what, you might not hate Muslim Americans, but Muslims definitely hate you. That is the man who is running for Senate in the United States of America in the great state of Michigan. There are so many blind folks out there, chicken littles just running around. Oh, everything's fine. Everything's fine. I'm beside myself. Yes, I know the Save America Act is coming, and I also was promised I would talk about the 17th Amendment today. We are going to have that talk, but we're not going to have the full talk. I've got to read Federalist Paper number 10 again. I do. And I'm going to try to find that other story about this senator. We got Mitch being released from the hospital. Senator Mitch McConnell. No pictures, of course. No pictures of him at home rehabbing. We've got to talk about Senator Lisa Murkowski, how she's going to vote against the nominee for Attorney General, just like Susan Collins. I'm going to tell you how they're alike and how they're different. We're going to continue talking about this as the show unpacks itself. We're off and running here on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back.
don't back down. We don't back down. With all due respect, if they go low, we don't go high. We take them to the mud and choke them out.
Yep. But you are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 1039 WYAB. 601-879-0002 is the number. And look, this segment is brought to you by our friend Bruce over at iGear Optical, where they've got the back to school special still going on. $99 sunglasses, $99 eyeglasses, located right there on Highway 80 in Pearl. And wouldn't you know it, I just clicked it off. But Brother Bruce you can find his website at igearoptical.com, igearoptical.com. Brother Bruce, we appreciate you supporting the show. Getting back to that last caller asked about that clip that I posted last week. And here it is. It's only 11 seconds long. Maybe you forgot about it.
Don't back down. We don't back down. With all due respect, if they go low, we don't go high. We take them to the mud and choke them out.
I'm telling you, wars fought at the lowest common denominator. We're trying to fight a third generation war, a fourth generation war, and this is fifth generation warfare being used against us. And we're all sitting there fat, dumb, and happy. We've got our Arby's, we got our Waffle House, we host the World Cup, the Europeans love us. Sky News, BBC, CCP, all being obliterated through social media. But it only lasts for so long. And they're just a relentless, continuous drum trying to tear down our country. I'll tell you what, I'm going to undo the repost, and I will repost it right now here on my timeline. It's just Andrew Gosser at X, andrewgosser.x. Put it back up to the top for those of you who want to see it. And I appreciate the caller being concerned about it. There's all sorts of other stories. I want to talk about this Mitch McConnell story. and I'm getting this. There's all sorts of stories you can get on, but here's what's coming from the mainstream media. Senator Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky, 84, was discharged from a rehabilitation center on August 6, 2026, and is continuing his recovery at home. In a statement, he said earlier today, I was discharged from the rehabilitation center to continue my recovery at home. On the advice of my doctors, I'll maintain an intensive regimen of physical therapy from home during the state work period. I'll continue to engage with my staff and colleagues on important Senate business. He and his wife, Elaine Chao, have expressed gratitude for the well wishes and medical care. And then one of the friends of the show says, does anyone actually believe this? And they post pictures of him before he went missing in action. And I don't wish death on anybody. I don't wish harm on any elected official. I want him defeated politically. But you look at the pictures that they are releasing, and they look nothing like Senator McConnell the last we saw him. It's like miracle Botox procedure on steroids, crack, hydrocodone, and who knows what else. Not meth, though. Definitely not meth. And I want him to be there, be healthy, and live a good life. But you know what? He's supposed to be in Washington, D.C., fighting for President Trump and his policies. And he's not. He's not. And unfortunately, we've got a lot of senators like that. Yesterday, we heard it with 2 Democrats who weren't at the Dr. Fauci hearing. They voted no by proxy, so their votes didn't count, but they just did a disservice to the very constituents and states that they were voted to go elect and serve. It's wrong. We are in an information and technology state where, I get emergencies happen. I'm going to use an example of one of my political enemies. She was in a terrible car accident, and we texted rarely. But when she was hurt, I checked in on her. I wished her well. She was gone for I believe a month, and people were cranky, and I'm like, dude, she just got T-boned at a stoplight. Not her fault. 50 miles an hour. I get that. But this has been a continuous decline with Mitch McConnell. Well documented for the public, falling down, showing up bruised on the Senate floor. And let's be honest, he hasn't been an exact supporter of the Republican Party. Andy, he was the leader of the Senate. Well, what's that got to do with anything in the price of tea in China? We've got a leader in the Senate now who's got everything all gummed up. And I've got audio of him, too. But I've got to tell you, this is not looking good for the boomer generation when it comes to Generation X, the millennials, Gen Z, Gen A. We're like, dudes, just go away. We need to take it. We need to invoke these reforms. But they're bitter clingers. Nancy Pelosi. And even Susan Collins, who's up for re-election. I guess this is a great segue into this Senator Lisa Murkowski, because I did take some hot garbage for supporting Senator Collins. I'm not going to send her any money, and I certainly can't vote for her, but I'm looking at the person who is on the other side, and that's an unmitigated disaster. We don't want that. Senator Murkowski released just a bunch of stuff. Kamala Harris would be proud of this block of stuff. And I'll get to the point of her post. She posted it 5 hours. Ultimately, however, I will oppose his nomination of Mr. Blanche, joining Susan Collins. Now, what's the difference between these 2 senators, besides they are geographically about as far apart as you can get outside of the state of Hawaii. Maine on one side of the country, Alaska on the other side of the country. For all of you who graduated high school within the last 10 years, and they don't teach you geography in school anymore like they're supposed to. Man, I'll tell you what, I had the toughest geography teacher in high school. She was tough. We'd have to name rivers and lakes. And these were small rivers and lakes. I'm not talking about in the United States of America. No, she had us learn rivers and lakes in South America, Africa, Middle East, China, Russia. She was brutal, man. And you had to spell it right too. And my cursive was horrible. I had to beg, plead, borrow, beg, and steal to be able to print because I just was never a good cursive. And it's better than anything that the kids are doing today. But compared to what the standard used to be, it was horrible. My point is that these two states are on the opposite side of the country. Alaska, despite ranked choice voting, is incredibly conservative and Republican. Lisa Murkowski has no danger of supporting this Trump nominee. And yet she's going to go ahead and oppose it. Susan Collins is in a very purple, blue state. I would say it's blue, purple. She has never led in a poll, as far as I'm aware, going into an election. Yet she's always won. Well, Andy, now you're supporting a boomer who wins elections. Yeah, I'm looking at where she's winning the election. The same thing could be said about Mitch McConnell or Chuck Grassley. Very conservative states, but not always doing the conservative thing. And that's why it's important that we primary these senators out. And it's going to be hard to get Lisa Murkowski out with that ranked choice voting. Oh, they're going to gum all that up, which is why it's even more important that we pass the Save America Act. And you're making headway when you've got Leader Thune going to Fox News saying, oh, we can't do it. We can't do it. We can do it. We can do it. When we get back, I'm going to play some more audio of some of these senators who are coming out and speaking for the Save America Act. And then we'll also have some audio of Leader Thune. And I encourage you all I want to get your feedback on that. And hopefully in the next hour, I can get to this story on the Chinese influencing our U.S. military. Oh, man. You're calling right at the break. We'll take it. Why not? Hey, you're on there, but you only got a minute.
Well, just real quick, before you lose any confidence in the young people, Sam from Madison.
Yep.
The Civil Air Patrol, we had a SARX this past weekend, and it was out of Bobby Chain down in Hattiesburg. Now, we dropped an ELT somewhere in the Pine Belt down there, and some high school Civil Air Patrol cadets went out, and you know how big an ELT is. I mean, it's not 10 inches by a foot.
No.
And it's in the woods, and they went out and found that ELT.
That's awesome. I'm not
so
necessarily.
We're still training people that know north, south, east, west, being able to work with planes in the air, that work with drones in the air, that work with the field team. So sometimes if people think the kids aren't learning this stuff, because if the plane goes down, we got to go find it.
Yep. And what I would say to that is, I know that there are good kids out there. I know that that we're training up kids, but we're not doing it at the level and at the scale that we used to do it. I feel our high schools are failing. Organizations like the Boy Scouts that got turned into the Scouts. I went through the Scout handbook, and it's nothing like my Boy Scout handbook of 1986. And the morals and the values are going. But I do have faith in the kids. I just don't have faith necessarily in the institutions that are training the kids. And Civil Air Patrol, I'll say this. I have the utmost respect for Civil Air Patrol. And I'm glad to know that you and Brother Kim are out there doing the do, man.
Yeah. But anyway, just wanted to let you know. And we'll talk about the Boy Scouts later, because we also do an aviation merit badge for them. the way it should be done.
Yep.
And we've done a little over 535 Boy Scouts in the Jackson area, and it's even spread to where troops come from Alabama and Louisiana because we do it the right way. So,
dude, that makes me happy to hear. That was one merit badge I never got. Brother, I didn't get your name.
Sam from Madison.
Brother Sam from Madison. You know me and names, brother. You listen.
We know each other.
Yep. Brother Sam, I appreciate it. And you have a blessed day, my friend. That was Brother Sam. I didn't recognize the voice. I feel like a real stooge. But that's awesome to know that we've got Civil Air Patrol and Scouts out there still doing the do. Do they still call them the Boy Scouts? I forgot to ask Brother Sam that. I don't know, but this is the Andrew Gossip Show on 103.9 WYAB. We went a little long. We'll be right back. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. You know, I posted that post from that Democrat, Lake Boss, and did get back to me. And I just want to read it again to make sure that I didn't read it right, because I'm going to read his response. And I mean, I'm not afraid of taking criticism from folks at all. I've got a big tent on X and in life, but I draw the line at communist, socialist, unconstitutional Sharia law, and cultures/religions that don't protect women and children. Those are absolute deal breakers, non-negotiable. For whatever reason, a lot of Americans don't feel the same way. I've got zero interest in associating with you, and I'm damn sure not going to vote for you. Blue flashlight, Lake Boss, American flag, donkey. He back actually sat there and posted that, and then he said, no, you should do better. Did you actually read my post? And I feel that I did. And if I didn't read his post, please correct me how I misinterpreted your post. But apparently still going to vote Democrat. I would love to know if he was going to vote for the Democratic Socialist Islamist El Said, or whether or not he's going to vote the other way. And that's the dilemma that Democrats and Republicans both have. We don't necessarily want to vote on the other side of the aisle, but man, our own candidate is just not doing what we wanted to do. And it bothers me. It really does. I wish didn't quite edit out that one post that I had of him where he told me to do better. It just edited out and said, "Did you read my post?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I read your post." But that just goes to show you how divisive politics is when you're trying to reach out to the other side. And you got to have a gentle answer turns away wrath, and a soft or a harsh word incites anger. And you've got to live by that. You've absolutely got to live by that. He just said this. I'm here to have fun and engage with great people. Don't worry too much about offending talk. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. If it's never personal, but we don't have to shy away from any topics. Say hi once in a while. Behave. Most importantly, be happy. And then he's got a picture of Dave Gervais, you know, the guy who hosted the Grammys that last time, or the Emmys, or whatever it was. And he just basically told everybody to go pound sand and expose the whole Epstein deal. But I digress. I just saw that and I was like, man, I want to go ahead and really delve into that. And any time I get a chance to talk about that, I'm gonna, and we'll continue. So we were talking about Dave Gervais, or not Dave Gervais, but Lisa Murkowski and the Senate, and deals going down there. I have a Senator Thune lined up here next, and here's him trying to defend his actions in the Senate.
Well, and I think probably the best path to success is through budget reconciliation. And we can't do everything in budget reconciliation, but we can do parts of it. The one thing about the talking filibuster, and it hasn't been used in something like 100 years,
we know that it was used in 1964, and he got corrected on that. And here's where he tries to spin it on Hannity.
Point to the Civil Rights Act of 1964, but that it actually was done under regular order. They invoked cloture, passed it that way. But you turn control of the floor over to the Democrats. It's not only unlimited debate, it's unlimited amendments. And the Democrats will have a long list of amendments. And so every time they get an amendment, get it considered, gets disposed of, the clock resets. Every Democrat can give 2 hours of speeches. So that's 47 or times 2, 94 hours of speeches. And then every time you have a vote on an amendment, you go back, start all over again. So the Democrats, this is something that they're salivating over the opportunity to have is a talking filibuster. So that isn't the best path in my view. And frankly, I don't think we probably have the votes in the Senate among Republicans even to get on a talking filibuster. But I do think we have a possibility through budget reconciliation to get some of this done.
If you could go either way, are you as leader, are you trying to work with the rest of the Senate to get it done?
We are. And I think, we've had it up now. It was a pending business in the Senate for over 2 weeks, late February, early March. We had 5 votes on it. We voted on photo ID. We voted on photo ID and citizenship to register. We voted on the entire SAVE Act 2 different times. And we also voted on no boys and girls sports. So we've had 5 votes, portions of or all of the Save America Act. The problem we have is we have no Democrats. The Democrats block voted against it, in spite of the fact that there are at least a dozen Democrats, and I have the quotes, who have come out publicly and said they're for photo ID. But when they actually got a chance to put up or shut up on the floor of the Senate, they all voted no.
Let's talk.
And I wanted to play that without interrupting Senator Thune because I'm very critical of him. And when he's got points he's trying to make, I want to make sure that he gets his side of the story out. Not that I agree with it. You had this sent to you. You had the Save America Act, not the SAVE Act. First of all, there's a difference between the SAVE Act and the Save America Act. A lot of conservatives don't know that, but there is. And the SAVE Act is not nearly as strong as the Save America Act. But you had the Save America Act passed in the House and sent via priority message to Senator Thune. He could bring that to the floor on an up or down vote where they could have the talking filibuster and let the Democrats talk. I mean, we went 46 days on the Civil Rights Act of 1964. 46 days. And what Senator Thune is saying, and I got to agree with him with this, is that America's attention span is about 46 seconds. We can't handle things that go on more than a couple hours. Even movies anymore, they're making these 2.5-hour movies. People are not liking the movies because they're too long. Can't even tell a good story. Hollywood can't even tell a good story in 2.5 hours, but I digress. I have to take a quick short segment because it went long in the last one. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Text coming in over the break. It was pretty good. Great to hear from Brother Chris Hinkle, guest host on the show. Also sometimes gives a call. And he just gave me this text. And it's really good to hear. It's always good to hear when the show is growing in places I never would have expected. Just did an interview on contract at Home Depot in Madison. The guy I interviewed recognized my voice from the guest hosting and calling in your show. Said he listens to you daily and is a huge fan. Brother, at the Home Depot, tuning in daily, listening to the show. Thank you so much, man. It means the world to me. It means the world that we got people listening. I mean, I've got people listening all around the world. I've got like 5 or 6 people who listen in Chicago daily. It's incredible to me. I'm very humbled, and I'm very grateful. I'm not trying to be arrogant or boastful, and I'm still trying to get a response from that Lake Boss guy. We'll see what happens. But in the next hour, we're gonna catch up with U.S. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith and what she's thinking. Senator Roger Wicker, what he's thinking. And we're going to try to get to these generals who are making deals with the Chi-Coms. We have to do it. We have to do it. Because if we don't, then, and here it is. Here's the quote. I don't know Andrew Gosser, but as far as I know, I've never engaged with the fella. I do have some advice for him, though. Maybe he should actually read my post before quote tweeting it. Do better. I read your post on air, word for word, twice, brother. I'm not sure what it was. And serious question, would you ever vote against a Democrat who aligns with the communist, socialist, and Sharia law supporters? I wasn't being hateful, wasn't being anything. And I'll repost that too, because you posted it in 2 different spots. But that's how we have to engage with the left, because they're just as angry that their party's getting taken over, just like we're upset in the Republican Party that we have people who are more liberal taken over. Again, this is a perfect example of siloing, how they're dividing us up and putting us in different containers. Oh, the white container. Oh, the black container. Oh, the Indian container. Oh, the Mexican container. Oh, the Muslim container. Oh, the Democrat container. Oh, the Republican container. Oh, the DSA container. Well, the DSA is part of the whole thing. That's where they're trying to get that done. And the Red-Green Alliance is what they're calling it. The communists and the Islamists taking over the country. It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. And people think that I'm crazy for talking about it, but it's just how I see it. And if you have ears to hear and eyes to see, then you know when you see it. You know when you see it. And you've got to be strong enough. You have to have the Constitution to talk about it. And I'm really grateful for the listeners out there who text me in like podcasts to watch or things to watch or data. But sometimes, man, it's so much I can't even fit it in for the next day's show. And I know I've been pretty serious. Caller, it's not enough time to be fair with the caller, brother. We're up against a hard break here in about 30 seconds. But if you want to call in at the top of the next hour, I'm more than happy to engage with you. Left wing, right wing, center wing, nonpartisan, partisan. I'll talk to just about anybody as long as you don't raise your voice. You can do it without dropping an F-bomb. I'd appreciate it. I'm sure Matt, the station general manager, would appreciate it too. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in about 7.5 minutes. You are listening to Andrew Gosser on 103.9 WYAB.
Senator from Louisiana.
Mr. President, I rise today to speak to the nomination of Todd Blanche to be Attorney General. Over the last several days, I've heard from lots of people sharing their views on this nomination. And most of the time, it's clear. Mr. Blanche has become a referendum on how people feel about President Trump. If you don't like the president, you don't like Mr. Blanche. If you do like the president, you do. I have not approached it that way. This process should be about Mr. Blanche and how he will go forward in a difficult job and how the American people can be best served. I have a history with Mr. Trump, but that history does not matter one bit. On the one hand, Mr. Blanche does not need to be Senate confirmed for the U.S. taxpayer from healthcare fraud. Both men said, indeed, may not be as good as Mr. Blanche. This puts at risk the progress made fighting violent crime, human and drug trafficking, and fraud. And this does not serve the American people well. This is not a referendum on President Trump. It is a decision regarding Mr. Blanche in very specific circumstances. All considered, I will vote for Mr. Blanche. I'll be criticized for this vote. What's new? To represent a client well, has to have tough conversations and confront a client with difficult truths. That because of his previous attorney-client relationship with President Trump, Mr. Blanche would be precisely the person to push back on President Trump. But that ultimately, and here Barr echoed what I heard from Blanche, decisions are made by the president. Mr. Blanche is not perfect, and he will tell you this. But the choice is not between perfection and Mr. Blanche. It is between Mr. Blanche and another acting attorney general who may not run the department effectively under President Trump and who indeed may not be as good as Mr. Blanche. This puts at risk the progress Trump. Mr. Blanche, well, has to have tough conversations and confront as effectively as anyone can under President Trump.
And we are back for hour number 2 of the Andrew Gosser Show on 1039 WYAB, where we are streaming on Rumble, where we are streaming on X, where we are streaming on YouTube. Facebook still hates me, and we're streaming at the mothership that is WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up the 50,000 watt blowtorch of a signal that is 1039 WYAB, help us grow the station. Like, share, and subscribe to this channels. Go ahead and tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a Democrat. Also follow me on X. We're having a conversation with Lake Bass, Democrat who doesn't like the Islamists taking over his party, the communists, the socialists. At Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser. Love the conversation, especially with people who don't agree with me, especially when we can do it civilly. It's always good. Phone number if you want to be part of the show, Lake Bass, this includes you. 601-879-0002. Text line is open at 601-879-5060. I'll try to get to as many as I can. Chat is always available too. Yep. But the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show, in Lake Bass, you should know this. The mission is standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word incites anger. We have nice, soft, gentle words here. We're not harassing. We're not hateful. We just call it like we see it, right down the line. So it looks like we're going to get the Attorney General nominee put in or voted on today. And U.S. Senator from Louisiana, Bill Cassidy, came out and made his decision. And, shame on ABC News for clipping out Cassidy like he did. And I'm going to play it just so I can say what needs to be said about Senator Cassidy here. But as someone who has had to read speeches in front of the public, sometimes you get lost, fam. Sometimes it doesn't come out smooth. Instead of playing the clip that just says, I will support the nomination, they had to go ahead and put in his whole stutter and where he lost his place. And you know what? I'm not even going to play it. I'll just requote it. I'll repost it. But you all heard it during the break. It looks like he's going to pass. Todd Blanche is going to be the next U.S. District or U.S. Attorney General. Praying to God that he's better than Pam Bondi and that we get stuff done. I'm not saying he's got to be perfect, not saying he's got to do everything that he does, but he is going to do it. And I feel a lot better for not necessarily playing that than sitting there and driving a nail through the heart of a vampire when he's already dead. Politically speaking, ladies and gentlemen, politically speaking. And now I'm getting all these videos about people calling Blanche or Senator Cassidy a sellout. And I really don't care. You know what I've been wanting to get to for so long was this Natalie Winter story. And you can find it on Substack, and I'm going to post it right now. And we're just going to get into it. And we're going to make sure that this happens because it's too big of a story. I've been really critical of our military and how we fight wars. It's not almost like we don't fight wars to win anymore. We don't go in with crushing air superiority. It's all got to be proportional. The quote unquote shock and awe. There's no shock and awe. We're coming in and we're going to blow up your Scud missile launchers. We're going to blow up your ballistic missiles. We're going to go for your Shahed drones. But we're not going to go after your infrastructure until you bomb us enough times. I mean, and this gets really dangerous. And I don't want to Monday morning quarterback the generals or the Secretary of War or the president. I think this goes beyond them. I think it's a insipid, evil disease that's infected our entire military and political system. Starting with the Geneva Conventions and also this liberalism. We don't fight to win. We fight to sustain the military industrial complex. And great, we're coming out with a new board, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to go ahead and expedite the building of Patriot missiles, of Tomahawk cruise missiles. The only reason they're doing that is because there's a company out there called Anduril, but I digress. Let's get to this here. Natalie Winters. Beijing is paying U.S. media giants to publish its propaganda. You know, we hear about ABC News talking about how we're low on missiles and how we're low on other munitions. It's almost like they're cheering for China, Iran. They're cheering for Russia. They're cheering for Ukraine. They're cheering for anything that is bad for the United States. And it's one thing to call it down the middle, but when you start having leaks coming out from the Pentagon, which are half truths, and you know, it's interesting how more and more of these leakers are being walked out of the Pentagon daily. Not necessarily talked about it, but your clearance is no longer required. A Chinese publication paid some of America's most powerful media companies to share Beijing propaganda with their readers, Department of Justice records reveal. The articles did not look like Chinese government advertisements. They looked like American journalists intentionally. And this is how warfare works. Deception tactics work all the time. And, you know, the media is already compromised through Operation Mockingbird, but it's getting down that road anyway. China Daily, which Time openly identifies as an official publication of the People's Republic of China, paid outlets including the Los Angeles Times, Time Magazine, the Financial Times, Foreign Policy, and USA Today to distribute what own Foreign Agents Registration Act filings call informational and advertorials, ladies and gentlemen. The concern is still live. Readers can find glowing reports about Xi Jinping, Communist Party officials, Chinese state investment, and deeper U.S.-China cooperation presented in the same format as conventional news stories. Time Magazine or Time USA, 700,000. Financial Times, 293,000, 292 and change. LA Times, 272,000. Foreign Policy, 268,000. USA Today, 57,500. How come ABC News isn't reporting this? How come CNN's not reporting this? Or MS Now /BS Always? And you can go to Natalie Winter's Substack for free and read this. So I don't mind reading more quotes from this than I normally would. In May 2026, filings again states that China Daily facilitates the publication of informational and adversarial materials inside the U.S. media. China Daily May 2026 filings covering November 2025 through 2026 say Financial Times, 210,000. LA Times, another 136,000. Time Magazine, another 123,000. USA Today, another 53,750. So they're not regurgitating the numbers. But wait, there's more, ladies and gentlemen. More funding. Ready for this? The Boston Globe, $91,226.92 for printing in Boston. Los Angeles Times, $83,875 for printing in Los Angeles. Houston Chronicle, $69,168.80. Hawaii Ho-Chi Limited, $63,022.05. Seattle Times, $57,858.71. Sun Sentinel Company in Miami, $30,086.58. And the only city that's more corrupt than Chicago is Moscow, and they spent $27,300 in Chicago. They put down their spending in Chicago because the leftists already own it. Ladies and gentlemen, China is using our own mass media and mass information system against us. and no one's talking about it. There's a website out there called, or the Los Angeles Times has a whole section called China Watch. And they just go through with headlines, photographs, bylines of the viral presentation of ordinary news reports. But it's not ordinary news. It's propaganda being bought and paid for by the Chinese government. And you go to the LA Times and you look at China Watch. No wonder Americans don't know what's going on in China, because we're compromised. But it gets better. And I'm reposting this right now on my X account. But this is a picture of top American generals formed a secret back channel with CCP military intelligence in front of that instructed them. We wish we could advocate positions favorable to China. Some ended up on China's payroll. Well, who are these people? And this is coming from Natalie Winters, coming out on August 4th. I know it's been on my back burner, but just things keep popping up. Peter Pace, former Joint Chiefs of Chairman, flag officer, 4-star. Bill Owens, former Joint Chiefs of Vice Chairman, 4-star flag officer. John Abizade, former CENTCOM commander. I believe he was an Army 4-star general. George Casey, 4-star Army general. Ray Querlendo, 4-star Army general, chief of staff. And Jonathan Greenhart, former Navy chief, 4-star admiral. Ladies and gentlemen, they've got the pictures and the receipts with these general officers hanging out with Chinese officials and Chinese chicks. I'm just saying it like it is. But let's do our best, Billy Mays. But wait, there's more. Ronald Fogelman, former Air Force Chief of Staff, 4-star general. Norton Schwartz, man, I remember him. He was the last Chief of Staff when I was on active duty. Former 4-star general in the Air Force. Dennis Ramirez, 4-star Army general. Joseph Pure, former Pacific Command chief. That could be a general or an admiral. Timothy Keaton, 4-star Pacific Command chief. And former Army vice chief, that's a 4-star Admiral John Keane. And again, I'm reposting these and I'm putting it out there. So I took a lot of heat because I said our general officers and admirals our flag officers, there's real rot in there. And I'm just getting started. I've got more. I've got more, ladies and gentlemen. Walter Sharp, former U.S. Korea commander. That's not a 4-star. I think it's a 2-star spot. Charles Jacoby, former Northcom commander. That's I think a 2-star. And if I get their stars wrong, I don't want to I'm not belittling their rank or anything like that. I just think that it's wrong that you're on the Chinese payroll. Charles Wilhelm, former Southcom commander. Robert Van Antwerp, former Army Corps of Engineers chief. Stephen Lenza, former First Corps commander. And Carl Eckenberry, retired Army lieutenant general. So that's a 2-star. Ladies and gentlemen, this is all validated reporting. Think about this if this was World War II. I met Billy at the Kroger yesterday, 97 years old, enlisted in the Army when he was 18. And I can only imagine what our general officers would do back in World War II if they found this type of collusion. What would we do if this would have happened in the 80s? There are a lot of really good colonels and lieutenant colonels who got passed over for promotion because they didn't play the political game like these guys do. And the fact that they're getting payments from the Chinese government, and we're almost celebrating it. We're celebrating the dilution of our military. At the same time, we're happily reporting on stockpiles, and I'm not going to get into it. Brother Rick, I know you're listening. All I'm going to say is I do not share the same concerns that ABC News, CNN, and all these Chicken Littles running around saying the sky is falling. I don't. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But there's so much more to the story I'm going to get into. If you're not following Natalie Winters on X, you should be. You can go to my X account, find her X account, follow her, subscribe to her Substack. It's free. There's a pay option there. But again, this is Nick Shirley level journalism. This is James O'Keefe level journalism. This is arguably Watergate level investigative journalism, and our mainstream media isn't doing a thing about it. It's absolutely shameful. I hope Pete Hegseth saw this, and I hope that his staff is looking into this, because if this is really happening to the levels that are being described, it's downright treasonous, in my opinion. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. And the plot thickens, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get back to this China stuff, but Lake Bass did get back in touch with me, I said I read his statement twice, and he goes, "Awesome! Then you already know the answer to your question. Hoping folks across in Michigan and all across the country follow suit." And you never really gave an answer whether you're voting for Al Said or Syed, or if you're going to vote for the person running against El Sayed. So I just asked the question, ladies and gentlemen. So you'll be supporting the candidate against Sharia, and if he gets back to me during the show, well, I'll definitely do that, because I truly do enjoy engaging with liberals, and liberals know when they call the show, I give them plenty of time to talk, and we don't get into yelling matches, and it's just the way it needs to be. But I want to get back to Natalie Winters and this thread, because I think it's just absolutely critical. Because everybody thinks the back channel just started under Joe Biden. No, this started in 2008. Who was elected president in 2008 again? Oh, that's right, Barack Hussein Obama. The back channel began in China in 2008 under the name Sanya Initiative. It was funded by two 5-letter agencies that I'm not familiar with the name, but they're a group of congressional investigators identified the Front for the People's Liberation Army of China department responsible for political warfare. So China's political warfare department started this in 2008. U.S. investigators said that the organizations carried out intelligence collection and propaganda and perception management campaigns. They hired and paid for journalists for quote unquote favorable coverage. And ladies and gentlemen, this is why our kids, 2008, my daughter was born in 2008. She's never known a world where we weren't fighting against the Chinese political involvement in the United States. And you liberals out there don't want to pass the Save America Act. You want to have vacation birth tourism where these Chinese people come into the United States, have babies, and they don't even do it. We've documented on the show. Don't even do it. They go to Guam and have their babies in Guam and fly back because it's shorter, because it's cheaper. We've posted pictures of the billboards in Mexico. I think it was $4,995 to come into Texas, have your baby, and out again. It's like we see this. It's the Trojan horse all over again. This is Rome all over again. And we're too stubborn, and we're too proud, and we're too arrogant to realize what's going on. Bill Owens became the operation's leading American figure. 1 year later, the former Joint Chiefs Vice Chairman was consulting for Hawaii and publishing CCP propaganda in the United States media. And there he is sitting there. He was wearing a U.S. military uniform one day, and the next day he's wearing a suit next to all these Chinese instigators. I'm going to sit there and post that one too. I want you guys to trust what I'm saying, and I want you to be as upset about it as I am. Roger Wicker is the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee. He could go in and put the kibosh on this right now, but he's not. Senator Wicker is more. Well, I'm just going to read it. Well, that's not the one I wanted to hit. Senator Wicker, where are you at, brother? Well, sorry about that. Wrong Senator Wicker click right there. It happens sometimes. He posted this 15 hours ago. Space technology is rapidly advancing, but our regulations are not adapting at the same pace. The Space Commerce Advisory Committee Act would help regulators match innovation. It would create a forum for experts in emergency space capabilities to modernize outdated regulations, reduce unnecessary red tape, and strengthen America's resolve in space industry, creating new opportunities and innovations for Mississippi and across the nation. So let's quote tweet him here. Great. Now, how about the Save America Act. Yep, real time here, ladies and gentlemen. And me typing anymore is kind of an adventure in and of itself, but there we go. So our senator is out there talking about space stuff, and I have to say I do appreciate it. I do, because as space was a big deal going back to me, but we're being conquered intellectually by the Chinese, and no one's even saying anything about it. And I don't hear anybody on our local news talking about it. I don't hear any of our local politicians talking about it. Like you would, I would think, and if I'm wrong, you can correct me. But if this kind of blockbuster reporting came out, you would think that our U.S. senators, our U.S. congressmen, our governor would be talking about it, or at least mentioning, "Hey, we have some type of problem." Brother Chunk checking in. Wake me up when one of those generals are disciplined. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Junk. I'm just letting you know right now. Um, the flag officer mafia is real, man, and the power that they wield is absolutely undeniable. I mean, they can terminate a 06's career just like that, just 1 star. But that's how the officer corps really works. You know, when you were enlisted, you could do some stupid stuff, and I'm not saying I did do anything too stupid, but I did some stupid stuff. Never got a Article 15 or Captain's Mast or anything like that. But I mean, if you were enlisted, did you ever not get taken to the woodshed once or twice for just doing something stupid? I mean, we all did, but you do something silly like that as an officer, the rooms for mistakes in the officer corps, especially as you advance, is smaller and smaller. It's smaller and smaller. General Owens publicly advanced retired General Owens. I want to make sure I say that. Retired General Owens publicly advanced positions favorable to Beijing. He defended Hawaii, demanded America treat China as a friend, and questioned U.S. arms sales to Taiwan. I object in the way Hawaii was treated, he said. It's unfair. So, in other words, the only representative republic / democracy, because we don't know. Well, no, it's a representative republic in Taiwan. We can't support our allies because it's against China's best interests. The secret back channel did not remain confined to retired generals. Within a year, its delegations were sitting face to face with Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and there's a photo of it. Man, we are so cooked. We are so cooked. We've been selling out our political and military secrets to China since at least 2008, since basically the Democrats took over. But I would say it goes back even further than that, because they had to infiltrate these generals before they reached their full potential as generals. They had to identify who were going to be the 4 stars, who were going to be the 3 stars. And they would take you if you had any stars, but the thread that which this goes, and I'm not even a quarter of the way through this reporting, ladies and gentlemen, and it might not be the most exciting stuff that's going on. I know there's local stories that we could get to, but I feel like there's other programs out there that are going to talk about those local stories. And if I don't report on this, who's going to do it? I don't think anybody will. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. Twitter interaction is kind of crazy. Lake Bass did get back to me. He said, "Don't know the guy. Looking at his profile, seems like a solid guy. Might be another Democrat switching from blue to red. One at a time, ladies and gentlemen. One at a time. I'll tell you again. Gentle answer turns away wrath. Harsh word incites anger. Putting those evangelism skills to work in the political realm since 2011 for me." And I feel kind of guilty about that now that I think about it. I could have put those skills to work evangelistic wise a long time ago. Long time ago. People are asking me about these generals, what's going to happen to them. This is what I do know about the General Officer Corps is that if you are retired as a general officer, not frocked, but actually retired as a general officer, you get your full pension. I mean, you don't get the 20-year 50%. You get the full Monty. And I don't know what the deal is now for new people who enlist or get commissioned, but the deal that I was under is that 20 years I got 50% of my highest rank, and then I ended up getting 2.5% for every year after that. So you could retire up to 30 years. So you could retire at 75% of your base pay, which, if I would have been healthy, I would have definitely done 30. I love the military. I bled red, white, and blue. When my commander, R.D. Barbary from Fighter Squadron 102, he ended up commanding the Kitty Hawk. And he said when they drew bloods, it came out diamonds because we were the Diamondbacks, Fighter Squadron 102. And I realized that's not for everybody. Not everybody can go ahead and do that. But for those of us who do, we get it. Ladies and gentlemen, this read goes on for at least another hour and a half. And I don't have the time to do it, number one, but I think we've kicked this horse enough, at least for today, to where we can go back and talk about these generals and go talk about how deceptive the People's Liberation Army and how they've been fighting with us. And this is just the general and media experts of it. And it's funny because before China Watch used to be LA Times Studios, but now when you go to China Watch, it's a paid program. Experts hail new focus on Sino-U.S. ties. And what does it have there? All the Chinese members of, oh my God, it's so bad. It's just got pictures of them sitting there in Guizhou Province, China on March 23rd. It's one thing when you have the reporting out there and it's just block scroll, but it's another thing when you've got the screenshots and the pictures. Say a picture's worth 1,000 words. This article is more than 1,000 words, but the more that you go ahead and look at it, the better you realize just how compromised the United States is. Now, all of a sudden, China Daily, this is paid content. This paid content was paid for and prepared by China Daily, an official publication of the People's Republic of China. The Time editorial and advertising departments were not involved in the creation of this content. Man, we're just opening up the American public to communist propaganda. And you wonder why our kids are going off the rails with this socialism, with this communism, the Democrats, Socialists of America. These kids are just, and mom and dad aren't sitting there going ahead and talking about it at the kitchen table because no one gets to the kitchen table for dinner anymore. We don't sit there and teach our kids about this stuff anymore. We're more worried about what they feel like identifying with on a daily basis. I don't know when we're going to wake up. But I do want to get to this story because it fits right into what's going on. And it is a big story. DOGE's claim of 110 billion in savings was vastly inflated and riddled with errors, says the Government Accounting Office. And they completely come out and blast DOGE and blast Elon Musk. It's brutal. We will never know the full cost cutting that happened because of DOGE. The Democrat Party is broken right now, financially broke. And I firmly believe it's because DOGE cut off 85% of what USAID was doing. Not only with the gay coloring books, the gay plays, the homosexual agenda and women's rights movements in Afghanistan. We got rid of all that stuff, but we got rid of all the local stuff too. All of these salaries, they had an 85% cut in their budget, and they lost about 86% of their staffing at USAID. So all of these blue-haired closet liberals who were taking that money and funding it back into the local Democrat Party, Democrat candidates across the United States is now broke. They're not getting that money. That's why the Democrat Party had to mortgage their office in Washington, D.C. I believe it. But I wasn't even going to talk about this today, but when I heard ABC News talk about it, I felt I had to talk about it. And it's just a shame that DOGE couldn't have gone in there and exposed everything that they were finding. Never forget that they were finding people who were collecting Social Security more than 180 years old. Social Security isn't even 180 years old. And people have asked me to comment on it, and I will. But I'm going to put my 2 cents in there on it. I'm not saying that DOGE accomplished everything it could have accomplished or should have accomplished. It was cut off at the knees by weak-kneed Republicans like Cassidy, like Tom Tillis, like Lisa Murkowski, like Leader Thune. I won't call out Republicans who are elected in blue states and in purple districts. I know that a lot of my listeners won't appreciate that because they just want to be better dead than red type of voters. And there's a certain aspect to that. But not when you're in a purple or even a blue state. Tom Tillis should have never done what he did. We actually might lose the North Carolina Senate seat because of Tom Tillis. Cassidy should have never done what he did. Murkowski should have never done what she did. And it's because of elected officials like that. It's because of people like John Fetterman from Pennsylvania. I think Fetterman is dancing a political dance and not a voter dance. He's trying to remain friends with the Democrats at the same time making friends with the Republicans. But when you play both sides like that, you get smushed in the middle. I've got a rule for that, but I won't say it publicly. And that's just the way this is going to work. It's a shame. I mean, when Fetterman voted against Fauci, I just think about all of the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of vaccine injured people inside the state of Pennsylvania who are like, what the heck are you doing? What the heck are you doing? We're at a scary point in America. We're at an inflection point where we have to fall back on our faith and values. And unfortunately, our mainstream media, our public education system is trying to rip all that out. But just like that caller, Brother Sam said, give our kids some credit. And I do give the leaders of Generation Z and Alpha credit. But the sheep out there, they're just being herded up, being led to the slaughter. Just my opinion. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show. We will be right back. wish my fingers worked that good. Thank you. I sure do. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back here on the Andrew Gosser Show. The time sure does fly. It flies by quick. And man, I'll tell you what, I enjoy spending my weekdays from 10 to noon with you. It's a real blessing, gift from God. Thanks to the station for allowing me to have this show. Greatly appreciate it. It's all because of listeners and supporters like you. If you want to support the show, go ahead and shoot me an email at andrew@wyab.com. We'll get together and see if we can work something out. That'd be great. Appreciate all the callers that called in today. And it just my timeline keeps getting blown up by people who are listening to the show for the first time. I can't believe I got listeners in Michigan chiming in about this Abdul Saif guy. Daily Wire's even coming out with stories about it now. It's infuriating to me, to be quite honest with you. But we'll be back again next week. I still have to talk about this article coming from Jezebel and how the WNBA is going to hell in a handbasket through the LGBTQ community. And just a clue for anybody out there, if you're getting your news from Jezebel, you might want to go read up on the history of Jezebel before you decide to name your publication after that. Just saying, that's like naming two of your livestock guardian dogs, Samson and Delilah. You know what happens when you get a Samson and Delilah? You get a Samson and Delilah. God rest Sam Dog, man. Sam Dog was a good guy. A little bit misled a little bit, but he was a good dude. People are upset. Cindy Hyde Smith just went out and did a tweet. And, you know, every day it's a new day. It's Girl Scout Day. It's Boy Scout Day. It's Space Day. It's not Black History Day because that's a whole month, or National Hispanic Month or whatever. But every day is a different day that we're supposed to celebrate. And today is one that I would agree with. Today is National Purple Heart Day. We honor the bravery and sacrifice of our combat wounded veterans by pushing for Senator Jerry Moran's Take Care of American Veterans Act. So that's just another one that we have to start watching and following. It's good to know that Cindy Hyde-Smith is going to be behind that one. The act is to ensure that courageous men and women receive full benefits that they have earned. Veterans of Mississippi and across America have waited for too long for this. Yep, I'll repost that. I won't even put a Save America Act behind it. That's the one thing I do now is I do try to interact with my senators and congressmen, and I hope you do too. Talking about the Save America Act. I don't necessarily talk about that with Congressman Michael Guest or Trent Kelly or Mike Easel or even Benny Thompson for that matter, because it's already out of the House. But you got to build up those personal relationships with your politicians, ladies and gentlemen. Got to build up your personal relationships with these politicians. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. It's the weekend. That means date night with the Sweet Bee. And I can't tell you, she is just on the move. She's on fire. Not just spiritually, but professionally, personally. Just went out to a conference in Japan. Weaved in a little bit of Jesus in there too. You know, she shows up. We support some missionaries over in Japan. And on her way out the door, she just flying out Sunday. She went and got in the service there. And it was great to see the Schaefers. But wouldn't you know, she made the monthly newsletter. I think it's awesome. Sweet Bee, we're proud of you. We love you. Guys, tell your wife you love them. Tell her how much you care for them. Do something special. Ladies, you can do the same thing. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lindsey Beckham Show is coming up next. Don't go anywhere. You have been listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9. Until next time, take care, everybody. Be blessed. Yes, and amen.